any of this. Static electricity can easily break your Steam Deck permanently. Basically, if a spark jumps from you to one of the integrated circuits on the board, it'll probably fry some of the parts forever. If you're unfamiliar with preventing electrostatic discharge, you should probably stop doing this and turn it over to a pro. First, remove these 4 screws. Then these 4. Note that they're different sizes, so start keeping your screws organized to help you with SSD. We don't recommend replacing the included drive. What we do recommend for increasing your storage capacity is the handy microSD card slot. So much easier and plenty fast. Please note, before attempting an SSD replacement, an off-the-shelf SSD could cause problems. 1. Power consumption. An off-the-shelf SSD can draw more power than the original drive, which could cause overheating and thumbstick. It's basically doing this whole thing again, but backwards. Remember, if you have followed these directions correctly, you've done absolutely none of the preceding steps. But you're more informed now about what's inside your Steam Deck. Anyway, thanks for watching. And as always, let us know what you think.
Switch. Nintendo would have sued us. Today we're putting the Valve Steam Deck through the most intensive hardware benchmarking suite we can cram into a single video behavior, not the memory. So if the APU is running cool, the memory will potentially run hotter if the fan's not spinning fast enough. This is why you have to be careful if you do a custom backplate or something, because if you cool down the APU, the fan will slow down, which means the memory will get hotter because they're not directly synced. Anyway, that's for another time. As the device ages and gets dusty, relatively, to draw as much air as it can over all the components on the board without directly cooling them, because it's just not big enough to get direct airflow over everything. The DMC menu screen idled at about 31. Also tested with input. It falls off at this point, and internally the system reported a here. But we were able to use some built-in Linux utilities, so we retooled to use those. We are based on things like FPS. And secondly, they don't mean much without a point of comparison. Since the Steam Deck is essentially a PC and allows full control over graphics settings, that makes it difficult to assign a single latency number to the system or to individual games the way we could with Stadia. If the latency is high, lowering the settings will make it better. You control the latency. It's a PC. So to say the device has some latency means actually nothing, because that's not how it works. We wanted to make that clear because we had a lot of backplate off, indicating that it's actually an important part of the design. And overall, our only big concern or complaint with it would have been the battery charging IC. It's okay for the most part though, and acoustics and tuning on the fan hysteresis, it needs a little bit of work there, but Valve is already on that for future updates. Also, the least unique feature. This has been available through the Steam Link app on mobile devices for a long time now. You don't need a deck for this. We also installed VLC and we played a looping 4K video locally until caps and disabled RT effects. Dead Cells with VSync tested the upper bound, resulting in a total battery life of 6 hours. More than this is very unlikely in most games, unlike charge time and charging behavior. The AC adapter provided with the Steam Deck is rated for 45 watts output. We logged power consumption continuously at the wall while charging, and we observed the behavior in this chart. Blender render workloads while the battery was below 100% charge, so while it's charging, showed a constant draw of 40 to wall power. It had spikes up to 18 watts. We logged additional spikes to 19 watts in other scenarios that involved the GPU load. With the system fully charged so that no power was being diverted to the battery, total system power draw was 27.7 watts average during the Blender test and 30 watts in the DMC5 test area with our custom higher settings profile and VSync disabled. 6 FPS average with 0.1% lows down to 31 FPS in our chosen test area, which is right on the border of what we consider playable. It's not just a matter of frame rate, but also of...
Hi, I'm Jesse Cox, and these are my parents.
I'm Susan Cox.
And I'm Jack Cox.
What do you know about Final Fantasy?
It sounds like it's the last one of whatever it is.
You're actually kind of right. Final
Hello everyone, my name is Fox. This is Forza Horizon 5 running on the Steam Deck. Specifically, it's the benchmark mode running on the Steam Deck, which is kind of apt because this is the type of stuff that we're going to be showing in this preview. Kind of get an idea, ballpark understanding of how the Steam Deck at its max CDP compares to them, but ultimately I just left the main schedule, the general default schedule, which is Schedutil. I tried... Alright, so the first chart up is Heaven with the settings of Ultra and Extreme at 800p. The only difference here is that the Win 3's screen resolution is at 720p, so it is actually running at 720p on the Win 3. That's the only clarification I want to make here, just so you kind of have a better understanding of what's going on. Anyway, let's jump back into it. So if we take a...
Did I lose you there for a moment? You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan. 17 years since the men of this bureau took him.
Plugged in made the scheduler, Schedutil, which is the default, say, hey, I'm plugged in. This is Portal 2 loading, and again, I can't show you any of the SteamOS stuff, so this is it loading, and you saw that the time starting is like at 7 seconds. General game faster, which was interesting. Stuff. I can only show you games and talking about the performance and stuff, and I can show you the hardware. I can actually show you anything else running on this type of stuff, so that's the reason why. So here we are taking a look at Dead Cells loading. Now, once again, load times between SSD and microSD are largely the same. You can see right here that it was a little bit faster on SSD, 2 seconds slower on microSD, and this is actually loading into the game. This is just the beginning segment of the game. And here we can see that, once again, it's 2 seconds slower. Nothing crazy really to write home about. This is Portal 2 loading, and again, I can't show you any of the SteamOS stuff, so this is it loading, and you saw that the time starting is like at 7 seconds, because during 0 to 7 seconds was stuff I can't show you. Even though you saw those two things load out of order, so about 1 second faster on SSD.
Beyond the battle.
And then when it's actually loading the game itself, they're actually exactly identical. There is no difference whatsoever. Now that little segment was out of order, but I mean, they're pretty much exactly like a half a second difference. SSD is faster. Nothing really to go crazy about. This is Devil May Cry 5. Wow, that one actually, the micro SD actually won there by like, a half a second. This could just be variance, right? Like it's so little that they're probably just exactly the same.
You're alive. Can you hear me? They are already looking for you.
Largely, the worst case scenario that I found was like 17 seconds. So 17 to 12 seconds. I don't know. It's not really anything crazy. Basically, what it comes down to is if you all the other stuff could use up to 7 watts. So typically when you say 22 watts is what you're going to be using, that's how I got the 110 minute mark. However, when I got in my preview unit, when I started looking at it, trying to arrange worst case scenario, turn VSync off, have it run terrible, like put it at low settings, get high frame rate and just burn the chip, right? Like make it go as fast as it can. I was able to make the system use up to 27.4 watts, even though the TDP is capped at 15 watts. Now, I don't know if I can show this to you or not. Maybe when it gets to the 24th, you can look at this data through the command line. Even though you see the cap at 15 watt, you can clearly see that the chip itself is ballooning up to 20 watt. So it's consistently using 20 watt, even though it's at a 15 watt cap, and then the 7 watt total rest of system power applies on top of that. So I was getting like 27.4. All of the heat is pretty much localized in the center, where you hold it on the grips, like over here, it is icy cool. Like you don't feel the thermal radiation doesn't transfer out to that. So one of the benefits of having such a wide device is that thermally none of the heat actually escapes out, like transfers out to that plastic on the side. You don't feel anything on that side. So if you put the device on your lap, yeah, you can feel that it's warm, but at the edges where you hold the device, no, it's as cool as possible. So that's really quick what that is. Worst case scenario, it's under 80 degrees Celsius and it doesn't get hot where you hold it. So A+. It's fine. And I think that's it. That wraps up my preview video for today. Hopefully you sat through all of it. Hopefully it flowed fine for you guys.